Hi, gang. AI Mean Gene Okerlund here. And this is the new 80s revolution. Now, my good close personal friend, Mr. Jason Knupp with Whatever Happened To.
Hello, everybody. Jason Knupp, New 80s Revolution Cave. Late on a Wednesday. Late as in 11 p.m. We're getting down here to do the video. Had to do some stuff today. Unexpected stuff, but stuff nonetheless. Thanks to my friend Mean Gene, you now know that we're doing a Haiti Remember. That's right, Haiti Remember. And it might be an unusual Haiti Remember for you guys because we're talking about something that began in 1996, folks. What? We just talked about the 80s here? Don't we reject the 90s? The end? The beginning of the end? The 90s? No, we're going to embrace a little bit of the 90s. 1996. The year that the Jakks bone-crunching WWF figures came out. Hey, do you remember Jakks Pacific? Jakks bone-crunching wrestling figures. This was the follow-up, I guess. This was the next line after Hasbro's ended in 94. LJN's ended in 89. Hasbro's started in 90. Hasbro's went to 94. Jakks Bone Crunchers began in June of 1996. Hey, do you remember them? I sure do. In fact, I messed around a little bit on eBay today and I started looking at Bone Crunchers and I started getting a little bit of a fizzy feeling in my chest. Just a little bit of, I want that. Give me that. Give me that. But I'm going to control that because I can't. I don't have the room. But I loved Bone Crunchers. And in fact, it was my return to collecting wrestling figures. I had quit on the Hasbro's pretty early. In fact, honestly, if memory serves correctly, I stopped collecting Hasbro's in 1991. I did not get Series 2 of Hasbro's. I never had anything other than the first series of Hasbro's. I had the Galoobs, and I was playing a little bit more with the Galoobs than I was the Hasbro's. And this is 1990, folks. So I'm in 9th grade in 1990, having a good old time playing with my wrestling figures. Right? And not just like, on the phone with my girlfriend, playing with them in my hand. No, I'm sitting down with the ring and I'm having matches and storylines. 9th grade. So then Hasbro ends, and then Jakks, this unknown company that has some connections to LJN, actually. I believe the J in LJN is somehow connected to the Jakks part. I think it's Jack Friedman, I think, is the J in LJN, and he is affiliated with Jakks. I don't know. We could Google it or something. I don't know. But they produced the figures starting in 1996, and it was from an era of the WWF that I was not really interested in. I didn't watch it regularly. I watched it enough. But when the figures came out, I bought them. I had a lot of Bone Crunchers. And guys, I'm 20 at the time and beyond. 1996, June of 1996, I just turned 20. And I'm scooping up bone crunching figures, right? And I'm getting them well into the late 90s. I'm buying Jakks bone crunching figures until the classic superstars started coming out. I did not buy, after Bone Crunching, Jakks moved into like Titantron Live and all these weird looking figures. I stopped after that. And in fact, I did not go late into the Bone Crunching. I picked up again with Classic Superstars, but I enjoyed the heck out of the Bone Crunchers. I thought they were some of the most playable figures ever. And I would, if I had, if I had the Shawn Michaels and the Bret Hart right now, I could have an awesome match between those two. If I had the Undertaker, the first Series 1 Undertaker's a great figure. If I had the Godwins, those were good. So I got them, and then my mind was blown in, I think, 96 or 97 when the Monster Ring came out, because the Monster Ring was an LJN ring just reconditioned with, some safety posts. Because remember, if you don't remember, the LJN Sling 'em Fling 'em ring was actually recalled. And there were some civil lawsuits against LJN and the Sling 'em Fling 'em ring because a moronic child fell on it and was impaled, according to the lawsuit. But of course he fell on a post, right? You can impale yourself on anything, So then the Monster Ring comes out. It's the LJN ring. And in fact, on the bottom of the Jakks Monster Ring, check out the mark, the date and the labeling. It's an LJN ring. But it's re-released with these safety posts, which is the post with kind of a round cap on it. So if you fall on it, you're only going to crack a few ribs and maybe not get fully impaled. But that ring blew my mind because I hadn't seen the LJN ring in stores anyway for like 10 years at that point or whatever. And it's re-released. Now the Monster Ring, so Jakks became notorious for producing crappy stuff. And the Monster Ring was the first example of just crappy stuff. Yes, it's this beautiful replica, or it's the LJN ring, but the figures don't fit in this ring at all. Their figures are tiny compared to this ring, and so the word Monster Ring is about right because it's like this over-the-top, oversized ring that the figures would play in. But I bought it. I bought it because I bought the black and red Monday Night Raw ring. Because I just thought it looked cool. It was an LJN ring painted in Monday Night Raw red and black colors. Loved it. Thought it was great. And would play. And when I tell you I was playing, folks, I was playing with these figures at 20, 21 years old. Yes, I had girlfriends. Yes. Stop it before you think you're, No, I was not, in a basement. Well, I am now. But yes, I had a girlfriend that worked at KB, and in fact, she would pull some of the figures aside for me. And but yes, I was playing with toys at 20, 21 years old, and I remember having X-Pac and Kane as a tag team because I think they were tag teaming in real life, and I just remember having like this fantastic match with X-Pac and Kane versus the New Age Outlaws and just having a blast. So some of the early figures are so cool and so these obsolete characters, Kurgan and the Jackal, the APA, right? No, not they did make the APA, but that's not who I was talking about. Who was it? Maybe that was Kurgan and the Jackal and the Truth Commission. That's who they were. The Truth Commission, the Sultan and Bob Backlund were a 2-pack. The Sultan ended up being Rikishi, right? Remember? And it came with this. The manager's figures were awful. They were just weird, like thin little weird figures. The female figures were terrible. Sable and did they make a Sunny? Yeah, they made a Sunny with. I don't know if they made a Sunny. I can't remember. But Marlena and Sable were just terrible figures. But, you know, we got Wildman Mark Marrow. We had the Godwins. They made the Legion of Doom. Like I said, the Truth Commission. Who else did they make? They made Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. Kane, X-Pac, Triple H, a bunch of Edge figures, Test, The Rock, Stone Cold, you know, tons and tons of figures. And then they just started getting bad. You know, they started doing you know, weird gimmicks like what were they called? I forget what they were called, but they had weird gimmicks like scuba gear and you know, construction gear. I remember Ahmed Johnson was a construction worker or whatever. Then they made like horror figures. It just got stupid. And then some of them were like harder hollow plastic. I remember the Taka Michinoku figure was harder than the rest. And then they started having the back lever, you know, to do the stupid action moves, which I hated. But the first bunch of series of Jakks bone crunching figures were fantastic. They were fantastic. Ken Shamrock with that weird face. Remember, he just had like this wide open mouth. Owen Hart, you know, the King of Hearts Owen Hart had a figure. The Nation of Domination Owen with the black and the red, or the black and the yellow tape on him they made. Who else did they make? I mean, they made everybody. They made tons. They made a Vince McMahon, I remember, pretty early on. Sid was in the first. Ultimate Warrior was in the second series. Sid, Vader. You know, so these were good playable figures, and I loved them. I loved Jakks bone crunchers. Then I stopped, like I said. I didn't care about the Titantron Live figures. I thought those were horrible. And then they made others that I did not care about. I thought they were terrible looking figures. And at this point, they're starting to with the articulation. Bone crunchers had, you know, movable arms and movable legs and movable waist. They didn't have the joints. They didn't have the wrist joints. They didn't have the finger joints that I hated. You know, they would loosen over time, but you could still, you know, they were still just movable at the shoulder, right? Their arm wouldn't flip around and do all kinds of stuff. They were just up and down, up and down. That was good enough. That was as close to LJN that it was, you know, they were great. And then with more articulation, I just hated the figures after that. And Classic Superstars I collected just for the nostalgia of them. I don't remember playing much with Classic Superstars because then the articulation was too much. But Bone Crunchers, to me, is the last great wrestling figure line. That's it. Anything else after that, Mattel, Toy Biz, AEW figures, I can't stand them. And they're overly articulated, and I can't. So Bone Crunchers, to me, the last great wrestling figure. Did you collect Bone Crunchers, or were you cool? Right? Were you cool? So you didn't collect action figures and play with them at 20? Or were you like me? Comment below. Right? Because that's what you do on YouTube. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Good night now.